Mission 51 only being 30% complete and accessible on a collector's DVD. No Chapter 3 despite data miners finding its title card. Cutscenes for a battle gear that you don't get to use in-game. Why is the Phantom Pain so incomplete and unfinished? Well, I believe it is 100% finished. Here's why. Firstly, we have to think about the man behind the Metal Gear Solid series, Hideo Kojima. Everything he does is very deliberate when it comes to Metal Gear, especially surrounding the Phantom Pain and the information that he released to the fans around the world. The fake Moby Dick studio and fake CEO had a fake interview with Jeff Keighley, but the images of the Phantom Pain were very real, and the reveal of it using the Fox engine was so obvious as to be deliberate.
I noticed there's a Fox engine logo in the corner, so this game is running on the Fox engine.
We knew about the Fox engine and Ground Zeroes at this point. Putting the pieces together was very simple, but it got the internet talking. It drew even more focus to the project. As time went on, this built and built. So when the game finally released on September 1st, 2015, everyone was at a fever pitch for it. Fans of the series had been promised so much and knew from experience what could be possible on older systems, so what wonders were waiting for them. In truth, a balls-to-the-wall opening sequence full of the expected Kojima-isms, but a lot of which we'd already seen in trailers. But it was okay, this was just the opening. Once we were let loose, things would blow our mind, right? The story kind of chugged along, often detouring just to a random mission of sorts that seemed unconnected to anything. Chunks of detail were left on optional cassette tapes rather than in 30-minute cutscenes. Something seemed off. By the end of Chapter 1, Skullface is dead, Metal Gear is beaten and captured, and Chapter 2 feels exactly the same. Almost like everything you've just done up to that point didn't really matter either way. But that's okay. Time to draw everything from the game and the entire series together. After all, this was going to be the missing link to the entire series. And it kind of does. Then you find out you aren't Big Boss after all. The entire campaign has been a diversionary tactic to lead attention away from the real Big Boss. Seemingly, Venom accepts this and walks back to the fight. Many have argued that as he walks into the smoke, he's going to face a young Solid Snake. Maybe, but I think it's far more simple than that. After all, you go back to selecting missions and side ops from the ACC, to continue to finish off any last bits of the game that you wish to. Venom keeps fighting in Big Boss's name. He keeps the legend alive. Completing these seemingly endless capture, rescue and destruction side ops and completing the tasks from main missions makes you continue the cycle. Add to this the FOB and online modes, where with online your first character is the avatar you create in the main game, your real face, and you have a multitude of ways to be Big Boss. Not to mention free roam, where you can just take over bases, defeat enemies and collect resources. So what does this have to do with the missing elements that I mentioned at the start of the video? That's just it. This is the ending, for want of a better term, that we're meant to get. These other elements don't add to the cycle that you are in post-game. Liquid was always part of Solid Snake's narrative, and to a lesser extent Big Boss's. Granted, he doesn't know about the body double, but we do now. From a gameplay extent, we don't miss out at all. We've already faced Sahelanthropus. Twice if you count the extreme mission. What's more, everyone who really cares has seen the cutscene ending with Venom accidentally shooting Liquid and a young Mantis removing the parasite from Liquid's throat as they disappear off together. Plus, we already know their story and how it links to Solid Snake. So what about the Battle Gear scenes and then the lack of a Battle Gear? Well, there isn't really a lack of it. You are able to deploy into the field for dispatch missions. After all, you are told they need to collect data to see how it works in the field. This is exactly how Zeke was implemented in Peace Walker. You could use Zeke in outer ops, but not in the field yourself. Granted, you then get to fight Zeke, but by this point you've already fought and defeated Sahelanthropus. The Chapter 3 Peace card then, where's that? Well, it could be from very early versions of the build and it just kind of got left in. Maybe it was to be used as an epilogue section and that sort of morphed into the end of Chapter 2. Many have speculated that it shows up when all nukes on a certain server or console have been dismantled. Maybe all nukes have to be dismantled on all versions of the game. Something that will probably never happen. What is important is that just because someone data mines something within the game's code, that doesn't make it part of the game. After all, it literally isn't part of the game. Things get added and removed from games all the time. Maybe there was a version once where Chapter 3 was a thing, but in the final released version of the game, it wasn't. And the final released version of the game, not any pre-builds or development versions, is the game we got. I want to close with this. Konami have gone on record stating that the Phantom Pain is finished. And I know, hashtag fuck Konami. But more importantly, Kojima himself has said that the blank space, as he calls it, ending was intentional. In the game's novelisation he wrote, "In MGSV we hand the story, the legend over to the player. That's how the player becomes the big boss in the MSX2 Metal Gear. You play the game as you will, raise up your mother base. That's the way I want the player to create his own story, thinking of things like war and peace as Big Boss." Up until now, the Metal Gear saga was told by creating video games, but I want each player to think and come up with their own story, or legend, on their own. Right, time for me to boot up the Phantom Pain again and create my own legend. I hope you all do the same. After all, we are Big Boss.